Welcome to CMS's 1135 Waiver and Flexibility Request Training. In this video, we'll demonstrate how to complete the 1135 Waiver and Flexibility Request form. The Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, or CMS, must be able to apply program waivers and flexibilities under Section 1135 of the Social Security Act in a timely manner to respond quickly to unfolding public health emergencies. In a disaster or emergency, waivers and flexibilities assist healthcare providers and suppliers in providing timely healthcare and services and continued access to care for beneficiaries. CMS developed a streamlined, automated process to standardize the 1135 waiver requests and inquiries to ensure timely response to facilities' needs. If you or your organization need to request an 1135 waiver related to a public health emergency, you'll now submit the web-based 1135 waiver flexibility request form. To access the 1135 waiver flexibility request form, please navigate to https://cmsqualitysupport.servicenow services.com/CMS_1135. On either your personal computer or mobile device, Chrome is the recommended browser, Firefox is second, and Edge and Safari are also supported. Here's how to complete the form in just 5 easy steps. The form's user-friendly and it'll guide you to completion. As you complete visible fields, additional fields are displayed. All required fields are marked with a red asterisk. You can hover over any of these question marks to view hint text about what to enter in a field, and use your computer mouse to click on an item to select it. For keyboard-only users, use the Tab key to move from field to field and use the space bar to make a selection. Let's begin. We're going to choose the Waiver Flexibility Request button, and once we make a selection, we'll see that additional fields appear below. So the next option we have is to choose Public Health Emergency. So we'll do that from the drop-down. I can either select it as I just did, or I can come here and begin typing it and make a selection from what appears. Then I'm going to move on and provide my contact information. So let's go to our email address field and we'll enter our email address, and then we'll be required to confirm the email address. Now, I have previously been in the system, therefore you're going to see that I can make a selection from a drop-down. If this is the first time you're entering the system, you will be required to retype your email address, and the cut and paste function does not work. Go ahead and enter your first name and your last name the first time you enter the system, and after that you will be pre-populated with your first and last name. And of course, enter your phone number. Your phone number, notice, is not a required field. However, we do recommend that you try to enter a phone number in the event that we need to reach out to you for any reason. And then we have our organization information. Who's the organization making this request? You can click in there and choose the name of a facility if you had previously been in there and used that name before, or you can type one in. I had previously created a ticket with Tranquil Days Nursing Home, and so I'm going to go ahead and select their name, and now we're going to identify their locations, whether they're in a specific state, a U.S. territory, or a federal district. And this is also a required field. I'm going to go ahead and select a state of Alaska, a territory of American Samoa, and a federal district of the Armed Forces America. So notice that you can make multiple selections there. Moving on to the organizational categories field, this also is a required field. And you're answering the question, who's the organization making this request? We have 3 tabs. There's a general tab, an emergency provider, supplier tab, and also an other tab. We're going to go ahead and take a look. Notice that you can make multiple selections here. I know that my selection is a nursing home. I'm going to go ahead and select nursing home. Now, one thing I need to point out to you is if you do not find what you're looking for in these three tabs, there is an other tab on which there is an other selection. When you make a selection in the other field, you will see that you get a text box in which you can enter a term. Now, what I'm going to enter is I'm going to enter the word lab. I know that there is a lab option that exists, and it's right here on the left. But I want to do this for purposes of showing you what will happen when I do so. If there is a duplicate and you then navigate outside of that field, you will get an error message that says we've detected a duplicate category. You entered lab, we have lab. If they're the same, press OK. I'm going to go ahead and click on OK so you can see what happens. It removed that text box, also the check in the other category, and it checked the lab field. Now, if the other were true, and I put the word lab in here, and they're not the same, I can click cancel, and it will create a new category called lab. Next, we'll move on to the identification number field, and the identification number field is where we're going to enter any applicable CMS ID numbers, and they should be comma separated. So if I enter one number and then I'm going to enter another, I should separate them with commas. This is not a required field, however. Now we'll move on to the description of our 1135 waiver and flexibility request. And coming down here to the request type field, I'm going to make a selection, and we're going to look for something that says nursing homes in it. And the one I want is this one. Now let's say I did not find what I was looking for. Let me demonstrate what you can do if you look through that list and you cannot locate what you're looking for. Select this checkbox that says can't find what you're looking for, click here. And then you can type something in. I'm going to add MDS. And I happen to know that there is an existing item named MDS. So when I click outside of that field, I get a duplicate waiver type detected message. And if it's the same as what they have, which is minimum data set, and I entered MDS, and if they match, I can click on OK. And then it will fill that field with that information. That is not what I'm looking for, however. Now let me show you what happens if I select that checkbox and I type in something that I know doesn't have a duplicate, such as HEDIS. So we're going to go out here and click outside the box. And you see I don't get that duplicate message. That will tell me that this is not in the list of request types. And therefore it will capture HEDIS as an additional request type. Okay, that isn't the one I want, so I'm going to put the one I want in here, which is this one. And now we can move on. If there is a regulation related to this request that you are familiar with, then you can come down here and you can add your regulation number. I've got one here I'm copying. So we're going to go over here and copy in our regulation number. Again, this is not a required field. So if you have it, it's very helpful to provide it. If you do not have it, you may omit it. But obviously, if you have it, it's better to provide as much information as you can than not. Let's move on then. The last box here is the description box. So they want us to describe our waiver or flexibility request. So So I'm copying my waiver or flexibility request that I had saved, and I'm going to paste it right here. And what it says is, we request a waiver of requirements for readmission to our facility when readmission is not possible for reasons related to COVID-19 response. For example, the resident must be admitted to a different facility for quarantine. Okay, so that pretty much covers it. Now we are complete in our first waiver request. The next thing that we will do is determine whether we have any additional waiver requests to submit. And if we do, we can select the Add Another Waiver Request link. If I select that link, you will see that it provides us with 3 more fields where we can select the waiver request type, which is required, provide a regulation, which is not required, and describe our waiver request in detail. So that it's numbered request number 2. And notice there is a red trash can down here in the lower right-hand corner. If I click on this link and then realize, oh, I really don't want to submit a second one, I can remove it by clicking on the red trash can icon. When I do that, you'll see we're back to request 1. I can continue clicking the Add Another Waiver Request link and completing those last 3 fields over and over again until such time that I am complete. Once I have completed it, I can come down to the bottom where we can execute our final step, which is to submit the request by clicking on the blue Submit button. When I click on the blue Submit button, I get my confirmation record, which says that my request has been successfully submitted. It gives me my case number, which I'll want to note in the event that I need to do follow-up later. And then I'll also receive an email confirmation that will summarize my request and provide me with any additional guidance. And lastly, as a reminder, the URL to place an 1135 waiver request is https://cmsqualitysupport.servicenow services.com/cms_1135. Thank you for viewing the 1135 Waiver and Flexibility Request demonstration.